Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon all of you. So my dear students and dear viewers, I welcome all of you again in this new session, and today we are going to read, or we are going to study, we are going to learn about the verb, but in the perspective of its lexical aspect. And before going through the lexical aspect of a verb in detail, I would like to ask you, what do you think, what do you mean by lexicon? L-E-X-I-C-O-N. Lexicon means simply, if you simple definition, it means as vocabulary of a language. But, and what does this lexical aspect of a verb mean? We have to understand it, and we are going to define a verb in a new and innovative way. Before analyzing verb in its traditional grammar, like what are transitive verb and intransitive verb, and what are infinitives, what are gerunds, and what are participles, that's later on we will discuss them later. But first, before jumping over to those sentences or those concepts, we would like to understand the verb in a new way. मैं चाहूँगा और मुझे बड़ी खुशी होगी कि अगर हम सब इकट्ठे सीख पाए verb को इस नए अंदाज में, lexical aspect of the verb. तो ये generally मेरे students के लिए हैं. Sorry, I was wrong. Particularly, this is for my students, and generally ये teachers के लिए भी helpful हो सकता है शायद. Or all the viewers who love English language, or who are learning English language at schools, at colleges, or maybe at universities, maybe most probably this may be helpful to them as well. So मैं बड़ा मतलब खुशी की बात होगी अगर हम मिलके ये बात समझेंगे, इस verb को analyze इस एतबार से करेंगे. तो verb को समझने के लिए या lexical aspect को समझने के लिए हम किसी भी verb को जो generally traditionally हम जानते हैं वो ये है कि verb is an action word. It defines an action, it modifies an action, or it confers an action and it confirms an action. लेकिन verb का सिर्फ इतना function नहीं है, ये सिर्फ action को ही बयान नहीं करता है, इसका और भी function है. तो वो हम आज समझने की कोशिश करेंगे, और verb का जो lexical aspect है तो उस aspect के हिसाब से हम verb को किस एतबार से समझते हैं. Today we are going to deal with that. Okay. लेकिन before going through that, I would like to put some questions before any verb. Does the verb have duration? तो lexical aspect of verb समझने के लिए हमें ये basic 3 questions मैंने board पे लिखे हैं. Does the verb, does the particular act, does it have a duration? Does the verb have duration? Does it have an endpoint? Does it involve change? तो कोई भी verb को आप ये questions डाल, मतलब you can put forward these questions to any act, to any verb. Does the verb have duration? Does it have an endpoint? Does it culminate in any endpoint? Or does it involve change? So, resulting properties are called semantic features of the verb. And those semantic features make up lexical aspect of the verb. So if you remember, अगर आपको याद होगा तो अपने इंट्रोडक्शन में मैंने बताया था when we are dealing with the system of words and their meanings, the relationship between words and their meanings, तो उस वक्त मैंने कहा था this branch of linguistics or this branch of language is known as semantics. तो semantic features, तो अगर जब आप किसी भी verb को ये क्वेश्चन डालते हैं जो रिजल्टिंग जो प्रॉपर्टीज़ आती हैं, जो हमारे आंसर्स आते हैं, तो you can call them lexical, you can call them semantic features of the verb, and those semantic features make up the lexical aspect of verb. Now let's understand this with suitable examples. I have written some verbs on the board: contain, know, hope, need, own, resemble, understand, etc., etc. Do you think that these verbs reflect any action? क्या आप समझते हैं जो वर्ब्स मैंने इस वाइट बोर्ड पे लिखे, क्या ये कोई काम का होना, एक्चुअल एक्शन को किसी एक्चुअल एक्शन का इजहार करते हैं? Are they really reflect any particular action? Contain, know, hope, need, own, resemble, understand, etc., etc. Do you think that? I don't think so. मुझे नहीं लगता ये कोई ऐसा काम reflect करते हैं where you have an agent, where you have a doer of action who actually performs some task, performs some action which you can measure, which you can see, which you can observe. So these verbs express states or situations. These verbs express states or situations rather than actual actions. तो यहाँ पर हम सब ने ये बात समझनी है, हम सबको ये बात समझनी है कि ऐसे जो verbs होते हैं contain, know, hope, need, own, resemble, understand, etc. These verbs express states or situations rather than actual actions. तो ये ऐसे verb है जो कोई एक्चुअल एक्शन को जाहिर नहीं करते हैं, बल्कि ये एक हालत बयान करते हैं, ये एक सिचुएशन बयान करते हैं. तो ऐसे verbs को हम lexical aspect, in the perspective of lexical aspect of the verbs, we call them stative verbs. तो ये बात हम आज समझ रहे हैं कि ऐसे verbs, जो verbs कोई particular action को denote नहीं करते हैं, reflect नहीं करते हैं, जो rather they express states or they give us situations, such verbs are known as stative verbs. And these stative verbs, they always signify cognitive, physical or emotional states. ये जो stative verbs होते हैं, ये always they can signify cognitive or emotional or physical states. So we have to understand such verbs contain, know, hope, need, own, resemble, understand, etc. These verbs does not imply any particular action, rather they express states or situations, and those situations, those states, they are rather cognitive or emotional or physical states. And when a verb express such a state, either it be a cognitive or emotional or physical, so you call those verbs stative verbs. तो याद रखिए कि स्टेटिव वर्ब्स ऐसे वर्ब्स होते हैं जो किसी पर्टिकुलर एक्शन को दर्शाते नहीं हैं, जो किसी पर्टिकुलर एक्शन को तफसील से बयान नहीं करते हैं, बल्कि उनसे बस इतना इजहार होता है, वो कोई पर्टिकुलर हालत का इजहार करते हैं, और वो हालत या तो कॉग्निटिव होती है, इट माइट बी रिलेटिंग विद आवर मेंटल प्रोसेसेस, और दैट can be some emotional state, or that can be some physical state. For example, contain. For example, this marker contains 5 ml of ink. So this contain, it is a physical state. So the amount of ink, the amount of liquid, it contains inside its body. So it states a physical state. It's not an action, rather it states a physical state. इसी तरह अगर मैं कहूँगा नो, आई नो हिम, मैं उसे जानता हूँ, तो knowing is somewhat, it has to do something with my brain interfaces, with my cognitive skills. इसी तरह अगर मैं hope कहूँगा, it is also an emotional as well as cognitive need. It is also might be having some physical need of maybe water and something else, etc. etc. Own, resemble, understand, all these. तो कुल मिला के आपने ये बात याद रखनी है कि जब वर्ब आपके सामने ऐसे वर्ब हो जो वर्ब एक फिजिकल स्टेट या कॉग्निटिव स्टेट या इमोशनल स्टेट को जाहिर करते हैं, तो ऐसे वर्ब्स को हम स्टेटिव वर्ब्स कहते हैं. तो ये हमारा पहला पार्ट है. तो ये आपने, आई होप कि many of us, बहुत से हम में ऐसे होंगे जिन्होंने पहली बार ये सुना होगा कि वर्ब एक्शन के अलावा कुछ और दर्शाता है, कुछ और बयान करता है, कुछ और जाहिर करता है. ऐसे verbs को हम stative verbs कहते हैं simply. तो stative verbs are not action words actually. As a matter of fact, in the perspective of lexical aspect of the verbs, दो stative verbs जो होते हैं ये कोई काम का इजहार नहीं करते, किसी काम को बयान नहीं करते. तो this is all about stative verbs. Now there are some features of these stative verbs and I will write them one by one. So as far as characteristics of the stative verbs are concerned, हमें याद रखना चाहिए जो stative verbs होते हैं, they are continuous and unchanging while they last. जब तक वो है तब तक they are continuous and unchanging. They cannot be changed usually. And they can usually stay for a long or indefinite time. Usually, आमतौर पर वो indefinite time तक रह सकते हैं. So they are, जो stative verbs होते हैं, they are continuous and unchanging. For example, if I say he is a doctor, तो इसमें जो is है जनरली वो हम उसको auxiliary verb कहते हैं, लेकिन if the auxiliary verb is not followed by the main verb, then the auxiliary verb itself is a main verb. So जो is इसमें है, is इसमें एक stative verb है, he is a doctor, और जब तक वो he है तब तक वो डॉक्टर है. It is continuous and unchanging while they last, while he lasts, so doctorship is there. So is a stative verb and it states a profession of a person, a physical state, a physical profession of a person. So first point we have to remember about stative verbs के बारे में जो आपने पहली बात याद रखनी है, they are continuous and unchanging while they last, usually for a long or indefinite time. Second point, they do not have endpoints, and those verbs which do not have endpoints, which do not culminate in an endpoint, they are generally known as italic verbs. And those verbs which we are going to study further, which culminate in endpoints, they are known as italic verbs. Okay, so these stative verbs can come with start, there can be stop, but there cannot be finish. You can say that he stopped loving his friend, but you cannot say he finished loving his friend. No. So stative verbs, they can come up with start, they can come up with stop, there can be start, there can be stop, but there cannot be finish. Okay. So also जो stative verbs होते हैं, they cannot come in progressive aspect. Usually आमतौर पर stative verbs का progressive aspect नहीं होता है. And what is that aspect? We will deal with that in a separate discussion when we going to read a difference between tense and an aspect. Okay. And the last point about the characteristics, the properties of stative verbs, they cannot come with manner verbs. Manner adverbs. I have forgotten to write here we have manner adverbs. They cannot occur, they cannot come with manner adverbs. यानी जो stative verbs होते हैं वो adverbs of manner के साथ नहीं आते. So आमतौर पे आप this last point, they cannot come with manner adverbs. इसका मतलब ये है कि आप stative verbs को adverbs of manner के साथ नहीं ला सकते. So you cannot say she or he understood methodically. So not usually, there are exceptions, but usually they cannot come up with the adverbs of manner. So this is all about stative verbs. तो अगर हम बात कुल मिला के कहें कि stative verbs होते क्या है? Stative verbs are all those verbs which state, which express a state or which give us a situation rather than to reflect a particular action, the actual action. So this is the function or definition of the stative verbs. And the states or the situations which stative verbs give us, they can be or they are or they can be cognitive, they can be emotional, or they can be physical states. For example, if I say that they are playing, so here sorry, not they are playing. If I say they are swimmers, and here is a stative verb. If I say I know you, the know is a stative verb. If I say I feel sad, so feel is a stative verb. If I say I understood all the facts, understood is a stative verb. If I say you should hope for good, hope is a stative verb. Thanks for watching, and I will come up with next topic in this case, in this perspective, that will be we will be discussing dynamic verbs. To know what dynamic verbs are, don't forget to watch the next part.